And good afternoon, and welcome to everyone out there in our listening audience. Welcome once again to our newest and latest and greatest invention for the Gutman community. Yes, that's right, folks. You have landed on the Grizz News Show. I am Nestor Melendez, Director of Student Leadership and Campus Life. And with me, as always, is my partner, my co host, my co anchor, and fellow fashionista, Vice President Charles Pryor. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Good afternoon, Nestor. Good afternoon to the students and staff that are joining us live. And good afternoon and good day to those of you that are going to watch this in tape delay or in syndication. As I like to say, some of my favorite shows that I watched growing up, I realize now as an adult, I watched them as a child and a teenager already in syndication. Cheers and different strokes and all those other things. Those shows were actually almost a half a generation before me, and I thought I was watching something new after school. But guess what? They were in syndication, and I enjoyed them just the same. So I hope you all enjoy this just as well. If you're not able to watch it live, but most importantly, like I said, Nestor, good afternoon, and as always, it's a pleasure to be here on the new Grizz News Show. Our next evolution from the state of the Grizz. So what's on our agenda to share with the people today?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We have a number of things that we want to call our audience's attention to. As we promised, our show's reformatted approach is going to be to give the people knowledge and insight into the things that they need to know about happening at Gutman Community College. And so as I flash across some of the pages that we are going to share, what I'm going to say to the students is we're going to put all of the links in the chat so that they have access to them. Almost all of our information comes directly to you from the gutman.cuny.edu website. And so we're encouraging all of our guests and audience members to visit the website repeatedly and often. And if you have questions, please do not hesitate to write them into the chat, and one of our staff members is going to be happy to answer that for you. So first up, VP Pryor is, as I do this screen share, I've got to find it first. Here we go. I believe I'm sharing the Stevens Initiative. Is that up on the screen right now?
That is. Why don't you tell the people about the Stevens Initiative, and then we'll talk some more about some other things going on campus.
The question that we have for the people is, have you ever wanted to speak to someone from a different country? And many times the answer has been, that would be an awesome experience. And so when I was a student, I'm certainly positive that when you were a student, we had a program known as Pen Pals. And what we would do is we would write these letters to students at schools in other countries, and they would get sent out, and then those students would in turn write response letters, and it created for some people an opportunity to connect to the other side of the world. And these letters were written what is now known as snail mail. Well, Gutman Community College has partnered with LaGuardia on a program to virtually connect young students around the world. And so this Stevens Instant Initiative is a new partnership that Gutman is undertaking to become part of the global community. And, you know, when you take a walk around our campus a couple of years ago when the campus was available to us, but in a couple of months when hopefully it reopens, one of the things you're going to notice is that our community is a diverse representation of the world. And so in encouraging our students to continue to be global citizens, I think that this initiative is a wonderful thing to call attention to. Your thoughts, VP Pryor?
You know, anytime that you can have an opportunity to share, learn, or initiate conversation about other cultures, and like you said, folks around the world, that's a phenomenal opportunity. I mean, the world is a huge melting pot. And like you said, we've always had these types of opportunities through pen pal programs, but technology has created funnels and opportunities to have these things more easily and more readily available. So now when you're talking to someone from another part of the world, you can hear their voice. You can have a better understanding of the cultural identity of the individual, and also share more with them. So I think this is a phenomenal opportunity, something I'm excited that we are undertaking, and I look forward to seeing and hearing how students have engaged in it, and also hearing what students have learned from it.
Yeah, and one of the really cool takeaways is when students engage in things like this, it provides you opportunities to look at the world differently, and maybe potentially uh, give you something to do post graduation, send you on an adventure around the world to go meet different people and at least see different places. And that's certainly something that we can get behind. It's something that I encourage every person. But certainly when you're a student, when you're running around in that identity, I think that's one of the best times to go and experience the world. It gives you a new appreciation for what we potentially have here in America, in the USA. But certainly, I think it just rounds you out in terms of your humanity and your ability to connect with folks. Speaking of connecting with folks, one of the ways we do that is through language. Is that not correct, VP?
Absolutely. Language, is one of the things that sometimes divide us, but when we think about it, it can be a way that actually brings us together. Some of the most expressive expressions I've ever heard have been communications in other languages. So, language and hearing how people use language is a powerful tool. It really is.
It absolutely is, and one of the strongest ways in which people do that is through poetry and spoken word. And we have just entered National Poetry Month across the United States. And so here again at Gutman, we jump right into these things with 2 feet. We're in the deep end. And so if you direct your attention to the Gutman National Poetry Month webpage, you're going to see that there's a number of events and workshops that are planned for the students. There's a poetry museum that has been curated by the faculty of the college. And I believe this is the artist, the poet Gorman, who spoke at the Biden inauguration. And there's even a collection of some of Gutman's favorite poems that were submitted by members of the community. And there's a poetry contest, which we talked about last week through the Amplifying Student Voices. So the Phi Theta Kappa PTK student organization has created a partnership with Poetry Month to continue to do their Amplifying Student Voices program. And so you can put your work in there as a student and be featured and potentially be showcased on our Gutman website. And so I again encourage you all to go ahead and visit the 2 Poetry Month pages and the Amplifying Student Voice page as a space for you to be heard and seen. Speaking of being seen, I noticed that you're wearing an ascot there, VP Pryor, which is a promise you made last week.
I try not to break promises that I make. I went with the cardigan again. I decided to go with the ascot and break that out. For no other reason than really just wanting to, show and kind of switch up, the style a little bit, and show that no matter, how I'm dressed culturally, that I can participate and engage with students and use colloquial language and be dressed like this, or use very proper language and still get my point across. Because, we're talking about culture and melting and melding cultures together. So I just think it's important to understand that sometimes, someone's outward appearance isn't always defined, how well and how effectively they communicate. So I just, and plus I promised last week, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I wanted to break it out.
And we appreciate you making good on the promise. The ascot looks phenomenal, and hopefully it starts a trend. Maybe we'll do a swag for the campus that is ascots, and ask students to take pictures of themselves in these ascots all across New York City.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, a friend of mine at an HBCU just outside of DC at Bowie State, they do bow tie Tuesdays. Um, you know, so I don't know if we want to necessarily do bow tie Tuesdays. Maybe we could do bow tie Thursdays, or, you know, something along those lines. I know our UMOC gentlemen were doing a bow tie initiative some years ago. But I would absolutely love that. You know, it's one of the things that I think unifies a group, and brings people together, and also is a conversation piece. You know what I mean? Especially if we start talking again about styles and preferences and things like that. But it shows how much more aligned we are with certain things, and also, you know, men and women, identified individuals, and others can wear ascots and bow ties. They're not assigned to a specific gender. You know what I mean? So as we think about these types of campaigns, we want to make sure that we're including more people in the opportunities to be in these, or to participate in these engagements.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's that thought right there, participating in these engagements, which brings us to a brand new segment called Sharing Stories. This is something that we promised last week we would bring, and this was our opportunity to introduce the student voice into our show, into the communal consciousness. And so today we are blessed and lucky to have a young student who decided to be the test subject, the guinea pig, the first volunteer. And
we're going to call him a pioneer.
Pioneer in this. And so it is my pleasure and honor to introduce the audience to Bashir Juwara, who is a first-year student. And so, Bashir, I would love for you to take a couple of moments and introduce yourself to the community.
Hi, everyone. As Nessa just mentioned, my name is Bashir Juara, and I'm a first-year student at Gutman Community College. I was born and raised in West Africa, Gambia, next to Senegal, and also next to the Atlantic Ocean. I've been in the United States for 4 years now, and before I came here, I was in Spain for 8 months, which is great experience. And as you know, I graduated from high school in online Zoom, like the way we are doing. I wish it was in person, but unfortunately we did it online, and now I'm taking classes at Goodman as a first-year student online as well. So nice to meet you all. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah, Bashir, thank you so much for taking time out of your studies to be here with us this afternoon. You know, when Nestor told me that you were going to join us today on the show, he said so many phenomenal things about you. So I was excited to have you here and to meet you, and to add you to my network of Gutman students. So welcome to the Grizz News Show. And again, thanks for making time and taking time from your academics to participate in this engagement. It means a lot.
Thank you, Vivi Prayer. It's an honor to be here.
Awesome. And so the reason we wanted Bashir, and the reason why we're going to have other students on the show, is that what we want to do is give folks a look at the student lived experience. We want to hear about the student perspective. And so my conversations with Bashir over the past couple of weeks have uncovered that this is a young man who has come here to Gutman and taken advantage of opportunities, certainly has stood up for himself in terms of advocacy to ensure that he's able to have a good college experience. And so what I'd like to do is, without putting the words in his mouth, is allow you to hear in Bashir's own words just his thoughts on the Gutman experience and the things that he has felt, thought, and seen since he's started his experience with us as a Grizzly. So Bashir, go ahead and take a couple of moments and tell us your story, please.
Yeah, as you know, as I mentioned before, we started the school as a first-year students online, which is unprecedented. We wanted to be in the campus to experience college in real life, but this is something also we have to be grateful for. It's an experience that is going to help us to grow as a person, as individuals, and as a community as well. Like the way we are here today, virtually meeting. Oh, I never thought this would happen as a college student, but here we go, it is happening. So since I came in Gutman, everything is online, classes are online. I thought like it's something that is difficult and I might not be able to continue that way, but thankfully there is resources that are available to use to engage and make you stay connected with each other. We started classes online with other students, first year students. We make connection with each other to create like WhatsApp groups in order to be connected, because online with the asynchronous classes is difficult to stay connected. But with these student groups, we are able to get in touch with each other and stay connected. And one of the most helpful thing about Gutman is, for example, the ethnographics class that I'm taking with Professor Medina. He have like a weekly assignment about overcoming challenges, because he know that it is difficult for students to take online classes. So these weekly overcoming challenges help us to express our feelings about learning as new students in college online, how we are doing our best to overcome these challenges. So that weekly was a space for us, a safe space to share your experience, to share how you are struggling. He also provides us resources that are going to help us mentally and physically to stay well.
For sure, I think that's phenomenal. One that you all working together to engage and like you said, I'm going to use the word replicate the on-campus experience by having WhatsApp groups. I think that's, for lack of a better term, that's dope. You know what I mean? And I can especially appreciate your engagement and checking on your emotional wellness, because that's important. Because if you're not well, if you're not feeling good, if you're not feeling up to the challenge, it's difficult to show up. But in thinking about some of maybe the activities that you've learned to help you to maintain your emotional wellness, what was the most impactful activity that you've engaged in, either learned through these engagement or just something that you do on a regular, just so that Bashir stays connected and energetic enough to participate?
Yeah, one of the best resources we have was a video that says like brain is like a plastic. The more you exercise it, the more it's gonna grow and expand. Just like the way we go to the gym to have our muscles grow, brain is also like that. So when we start the classes with the asynchronous, where we can get the assignments done during our own time, there was like a procrastinations. So in order to avoid those kind of procrastinations, you have to teach your mind that to get things done on time or ahead of the time. So that video help us to show that brain is something, when you teach it something, is going to grow and adapt to it. And another resource that we have was like a meditation. We subscribe to weekly reminder that send us every morning to do 10 minutes meditation before you start your classes. It's something that helps you to relax your mind, your brain, and also physically to relax and know that you can handle everything that you are assigned to get it done.
Bashir, and thank you for that. The correlation between your exercising your brain and exercising and training your muscles in the gym is a phenomenal one, and really important for folks to remember, because like you said, you can exercise your brain because it is a muscle, and you train it up and are able to better focus in on the activity in front of you, but also train you to be focused in on those deadlines. Because I think that's extremely important, because we all recognize that we can do the work, but for some reason we think that if it's due at 12, that at 11 o'clock, we're going to be able to, turn on the switch and, magically all of the thoughts and ideas are going to hit the paper. We all know that's not true, but for some reason we begin to think that way. But if we think and train ourselves emotionally and mentally to meet the deadline, very often, as you said, we'll actually complete things early, and not at 11, and not start working on them at 11 o'clock, though they're due at 12. Because that leaves other challenges. But most importantly, as you said, getting those things in and those things done so that you can complete your task on time. So thank you for that. I really appreciate you sharing your experience and some of the things that have been helpful to you. And I hope that some of the students that are here with us today, pick up some of these pieces and incorporate some of the positive things that you're already doing to be academically successful. Because what Bashir shared is what has worked for him. And you may have some things that are working for you, and maybe this is a supplement, a complement, or to what you have cooking, so to speak, already. So thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah. And as we wind down this segment, Bashir, if there was like a top 2 or 3 things that you feel your peers should walk away from this conversation thinking or knowing, what would you say they are?
Yeah, I think first thing would be to stay connected. This pandemic, it kind of separates us in a ways physically, but virtually we can stay connected. I know there's a lot of students that are suffering with depression, loneliness, but there are those students that can be there for you. There are students that can willingly offer support for you just so you can talk to each other. And another thing I think is really important for my fellow students is to use the resources that we have. For example, the tutoring. Anytime that I have an assignment, I try to get it done ahead of the time and then try to attend the tutoring and try to make sure that I'm submitting an academic paper that is strong enough to impress my professors. And thirdly is to attend the live sessions if you are taking asynchronous classes. Asynchronous classes, they allow you to get your works done in your own time. But when you attend the professor's live Zoom session, you get more information than the ones that are already uploaded in the Blackboard.
That is timely. That is relevant. That is so perfect. And so, Bashir, again, on behalf of the Division of Student Engagement and certainly the Office of Student Leadership and Campus Life, we are very happy that you were the first student to step up and be representative of your peers on the Grizz News Show. And we look forward to seeing more contributions from you in the future. I know that there's some big things ahead of you. And so we thank you and we wish you well for the rest of this academic term.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it.
Good luck, Bashir, and we'll be chatting soon. Take care, man. I really appreciate the things that you shared here today.
Yeah, and so as we start to wind down this show, which with the really awesome first segment ever of sharing stories, what we're going to be looking at is some of the stuff that Bashir talked about, is those resources that are available to the students. And so on our web pages, there's a couple of different places where you can show up, but this page here lists some of the things that Bashir alluded to: direct connect, right? One-on-one meetings with peer mentors, our e-turns, our e-tutoring program, our meetups, which used to be in person but are now virtual, our supplemental instruction program, our raise your hand feature in Starfish, the tutoring program, and other programs like UMOC and Women of Grit, which are beautiful, wonderful resources for students to have access to information. And again, these are all virtual and available via the web. And so we want students to take advantage of that. And the reason for that, as I continue this thread, is that when you successfully do your course requirements, you end up at the doors of graduation or commencement, which signifies the end of your academic journey at a certain point. And so for us, it would be the culmination of receiving your associate's degree and transferring to your senior institution. Well, this year, Stella and Charles Government Community College will have another virtual celebration, salute to the graduates, on Thursday, June 17th, 2021. And this is going to be open to the entire community. But what we would like is for students who are getting ready to leave the Gutman family and transition forward is to attend this celebration, which is intended for you. And for our first year students to see this and look at it as an opportunity to set another goal for themselves, as in, I intend to complete my degree requirements and graduate and get to commencement. We also have a page that helps you understand how you accomplish this, but the easiest and fastest and quickest way is obvious. Do your classwork. Am I right, VP Pryor?
Do your coursework and ask questions when you run across something that is questionable, or you're not quite 100% confident and clear of your understanding. And as Bashir shared, and I think this is great, if you get your work done early, then you can work with a tutor or a mentor in a meetup, or someone on the academic success side of the house who, and have them look over your work and give you pointers and hints on how to improve what you're getting ready to submit. So but like you said, you got to do the work. That's half the battle.
Absolutely. And G.I. Joe taught us that many, many years ago. So as we begin to say goodbye to our community and wind this show down, I will always remind folks that all of our information is available on the Gutman website. But we especially would love for folks to visit our events webpage, which, if you do the month look, it gives you a beautiful sense of the number of events and opportunities that there are to engage with us. In some cases, we have one event on a day. In other cases, we got 4 events on a day. There's some times where I've seen as many as 8 events on a day. So you have an opportunity to pick and choose your engagements and how you want to be a part of the Gutman community. But we're always looking forward for you to be a part of the things that we have going on. Last thoughts as we get ready, VP Pryor, to say goodbye to everyone.
As we move to sign off, just wanting to remind everyone, every Monday we send out the Grizzly Insider. So you get that. It's a newsletter format. So it does have a short letter from me, which highlights a couple of things. This week, we highlighted one, that the vaccines in New York State are available, in New York City especially, are available to anyone over 16 years of age, having started on the 6th of April, which was yesterday. But also that we are going to start sending out swag items. So we haven't been on campus, so you haven't gotten t-shirts and hoodies and pins and all the things that help connect us to each other so that you can notice each other in the streets and things like that. So as you participate in events and activities, make sure that you signed in or whatever it is. But the most important part is, because we got to mail it to you, make sure your addresses are up to date in the CUNY First system. Because I personally will be going in once a week, starting in a week and a half or so, to stuff boxes and envelopes to make sure that you get the swag that you've earned. Because like I said, we want to make sure that, when we see you out, that I'll know you from your Gutman apparel and you'll know me from mine. So I look forward and make sure that y'all get y'all swag, especially as we move into the summer months. More people are vaccinated. New York City's starting to open up, and folks are finally really starting to understand the seriousness of COVID and how to protect each other and themselves, and open up and move into our next reality. So that's something to think about. But thinking about the next reality and the year that we've had, I just want to take an opportunity now to thank all of our essential workers, our healthcare workers, those in the science field that have helped us to get this far. And all of you for the sacrifices that you've made for your family and for your academics, staying, like as Bashir said, locked down and knowing that some of what you expected to have as a college experience would not be available to you, but replacing that with WhatsApp groups and making sure that you're staying engaged with campus services and so forth. So, as always, thanks for being here. And Grizzlies, I want you to remember, we got your back. I'll keep saying it. That's my favorite line over the last few months. And just want you to remember that. So Ness, it's been a great show again, a phenomenal guest, and I look forward to stepping up again and doing this in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks' time, we will be back with the Grizz News Show. All the news you need in a short half-hour segment. BP Pride, thank you so much. Our guests, Joanna, Latoya, Angel, Bashir, Julia, Miguel, Rena. Thank you so much, folks. Have a great rest of the week. It's the midpoint.
Take care, Grizzlies.